What's going on, everybody? This is the Talking Tactics Podcast, back for 2019. My name's Daniel.
It's your boy, Double H.
Happy New Year, everyone. It's Carl Anker.
Yeah, Happy New Year. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud. If you're listening on Spotify, shout out to you guys as well. If you're listening on Apple, leave a 5-star review, and we will read it on the show. We got 2, so I'll go ahead and read those now. This one's from Norway. New favorite football podcast. Love these guys. Funny and insightful with great chemistry. Check it out from a guy called Stian. And this one's from Australia. Love the pod. Great football podcast. The hosts talk deeply into a few big games and clubs and have fantastic insight. Keep up the good work from Hellywell03. So shout out to you guys for your 5-star review. It's easy. If you go into the description of the podcast, there's a link. And it's the easiest way to do that. If you don't listen on an Apple device, then, word of luck in that sense. But you can always follow us on Twitter and do other things to support us in that way. Speaking of support, we do have a little announcement. Not even a little, a big one. People have been asking for a year and a half probably, like, oh, when are you going to do a Patreon page? Like 1 or 2 people have gotten in touch with me like, oh, how do we help you out? How do we do this? How do we do that? Tomorrow, we're going to be launching our Patreon page. If you don't know, it's like how would you guys describe it?
Basically, it's a website where you can pledge towards helping or supporting your favorite podcast or favorite TV show, your favorite personality. And it's done based on different tiers. So there's a $1 tier, a $3 tier, a $5 tier. And for each tier, you get sort of a reward based on the tier that you use to, that you pretty much pledge towards. So depending on how much you pledge, how much extra things or extra content that you get from your favorite podcast, TV show, or personality.
Cool. Yeah. So we have 3 tiers that we're going to line up that we've lined up for you guys. The first one is $1. It's just like a friend of the podcast thing. If you just want to put a little money on the books, but you don't want to like spend crazy, you don't really get anything for it except like our eternal gratitude. $3, that's when you start getting good stuff. $3 a month, you get Talking Tactics Extra, man. People really want like, yo, when are you guys gonna put out Talking Tactics Extras? I love Talking Tactics Extras, man. Linking the schedules and just like sitting down to do an extra every week is like very difficult.
It's like basically it's like twofold. The pledging is a way of helping and showing your support, but at the same time, as a thank you for your support, we will give you a reward based on everything. So first and foremost, it's a pledge of support, of thank you for actually supporting us, because again, anything that you do in life takes time out of your own time, and it's hard to do so. So the pledge is a show of support, and as a thank you for that support, we give you something extra, so
we're simply asking our fans to make a donation to help cover production costs.
Yeah, and there's a $10 tier. I figure like we might as well give, if anybody wants to give more than 1 or 3, and that one includes the Talking Tactics Extra. In the $3 tier as well, there's going to be like a bi-weekly blog that one of us will write, and then included with that, if you do $10, there's merch. So if you want like a cup or a pillow or something.
I want a Talking Tactics mug.
I want one too, but yeah. And also there's going to be like a Google Hangout that we can do every month if you pledge $10, and we'll set a date, we'll set a time, and we'll just have a bunch of people that have given $10. We'll set out like an hour and a half to talk with you guys once a month. So I feel like that could be cool and interesting. We can talk about podcast stuff. We can talk about anything, I suppose. But yeah, so those are the 3 tiers. When the site launches, we'll put the link on Facebook, on Twitter, and you can check it out, look through the tiers, and just help us out. Like the guys said, I mean, our time is valuable to us, but we do like doing this podcast, and this will help us cover production costs and hopefully make a better product for you guys and ensure that we keep doing it. So with that said, do you guys have anything you want to discuss? Like anything coming out this week or next week that you feel is relevant?
While we're recording, we're watching Wolves versus Liverpool in the FA Cup. And the notable thing here is Lovren's just gone off injured after 5 minutes, which could be a big thing in terms of title race. Liverpool have replaced him with a 16-year-old Dutch child called Kijana Hoever. I don't believe he's a centre-back, so they're playing a 16-year-old as centre-back right now. He's the youngest player to ever feature for Liverpool in the FA Cup, the 3rd youngest player in their history. To really put in context how young this kid is, he was born in 2002.
We're all just getting old, man.
That means the first football tournament he properly remembers, the first World Cup he properly remembers, is 2010.
What's the first World Cup you guys fully remember?
98.
98.
Yeah.
Wow. So 94 was mine. Hey, don't reveal any.
That's not going to make the podcast. It's not going to make the podcast now that I put your age out there. What? You're not. See, and I don't even want to make it like a gender thing. But you know how women are like super secretive of their ages in that way. Why are dudes like that?
That's just keep things on the wraps. I like to be a mystery. Half of it is a mystery. He's an enigma.
So my hair. No one's going to find out how old I am. Once I proper bald it off, and I'm going to be in that ambiguous, is he 35 or is he 50 stage like Drogba. I'm not going to tell you.
No. Bald head definitely works, man.
Drogba bald is weird, man. It's weird. Anyway.
You don't know how old he is. Is he 40? Is he 50? Who knows?
We've been off for a couple of weeks, and a lot of things have happened, especially in the Premier League, but maybe elsewhere if you guys can think of it. So I just want to give you guys the floor on any particular subject or topic that's happened over the past couple of weeks that you find interesting. Share it with us.
Oh, no. For me, I think the biggest thing for me, I really feel, is the situation at Real Madrid. I think, obviously, the biggest thing was really City, Liverpool, but I think the biggest story, because again, this is talking tactics, not talking Premier League. Okay, football is beyond just the Premier League. Man, it's a whole mess up. And the key thing here is it really as simple as, there's no Cristiano? Or is it deeper than that? Is it about Paris? Is it about this whole Galactico thing? Is it about how the club is being run? And it's to a stage where I think the last I read is that Sergio Ramos had like an emergency player-to-player meeting. And now it's a case of Ramos was the guy who pretty much vetoed Conte joining the club. So is it a case of where Sergio Ramos needs to step aside and let a authoritarian come into it? Or can the players actually come together and actually really try to work with Solari to get something happening? Because I've said this right now. Ajax are beating Real Madrid. They're beating them next month. And I'll be shocked if Real Madrid over two legs beats a team with De Ligt, De Jong, and all those guys in there. So yeah, man, it doesn't look good.
We're talking about so Real Madrid lost this weekend against Real Sociedad to leave them in 5th place in La Liga. They're on 5th place with 30 points. Barcelona top with 40. Top 4 teams in La Liga are in Champions League spaces. So
how many games have they played in La Liga?
We are halfway through.
And they only have 30 points. So 18 games, that's horrible.
1-9, drawn 3, lost 6.
Wow.
Goal difference of 3. I really, that's really put it. No, I don't want to understate how bad a 2018 Julian Lopetegui had. That guy, he had one of the what should have been one of the best years of his life, taking Spain to argue what should have been at least a semi-final run, helping Isco become the crown prince of world football, gets fired days before the World Cup starts, takes over Real Madrid, and is
Real have lost 6 times.
A brick is the word you're looking for, Carl.
Yeah. Brick is the more succinct way of putting it. Real Madrid are only a point off Alaves in 4th in La Liga. A reminder that the top 4 teams in England, Italy, Germany, and Spain now automatically get Champions League slots. No need for qualifiers and whatnot. So 4th place, while bad for Real Madrid, will do in terms of we'll get Champions League, then we'll go off and spend a ridiculous amount of money to buy whatever superstars we need. But yeah, Real Madrid having arguably the worst year since I think maybe one of the mid-90s ones. This is unprecedented. Normally the amount of money Real Madrid has cushions them from falling below 3rd, but it's a real topsy-turvy La Liga season. And I'm pretty annoyed that no one's been able to put a better title run together, because it's there for the taking. If Madrid could get sorted out, they could be far closer than the 5 points they are behind. But your question, Daniel, was what have we really learned from our couple of weeks off? And it's basically we have a title race. We have a title race in England and in Germany. So Dortmund lost to Fortuna Dusseldorf before their winter break to cut the gap between them and Bayern Munich down to 6 points, which in theory shouldn't be worrying. But when Bayern Munich get going, they really get going. When Lewandowski starts getting those braces and going through the motions. Niko Kovac seems to have finally figured out a system. He sort of like rejigged this 4-1-4-1 thing he was doing at the start of the season that wasn't really working. Ian Robin and Frank Ribery have more or less gone, yeah, we're leaving at the end of the season, so let's just go hell for leather.
Time out. Did you guys read the thing that Ribery said?
Yep. Ribery's having a
He
very
doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Wait, what did he say? What did he say? What did he say?
Okay, so there was a like he basically went to see the Salt Bay guy in Turkey, right? And he brought him out this like elaborate gold steak, basically. Like, you know how they have edible gold?
1,000-pound gold steak.
Right. And I guess it was a French politician or somebody in French society of some standing criticized Ribéry for his spending habits. And basically he was like, let's start out 2019 on the right foot, basically. he basically said like he said he had haters, basically like people that were born because somebody's condom broke. So he was like, fuck. He said, "Fuck your mom, fuck your grandma, and your whole family tree. Like the only people that I really care about are my family and God." And he put the statement out. I think probably on Instagram, Snapchat. Took a screenshot, put it on Twitter. And he got fined. Bayern Munich hasn't released the official like number of how much he got fined, but they said it was like a substantial amount. So like when Carl says like Robin and Ribéry doing their thing like because they're leaving, I don't think he cares. Like he's doing anything and saying anything he wants apparently.
Yeah, he was photographed.
I don't know, but he's always been that kind of dude, man.
Yeah,
he was photographed with 6ix9ine, the rapper, as well. So he's clearly going through some sort of late adolescence. You see it quite often in footballers as they get near their retirement age, in that they're finally allowed to do stuff that most people get out of their system by 21 in their college years.
No, but I think that Ribéry is different though, because I just think that he's always had that. Because remember, 2010 World Cup, I remember it fully. Like I think in the second half against Mexico, he was coaching the team. He actually held the team talk for the team, and they went ahead and still lost the game.
Oh yeah, Ribéry is a very much a leader of men.
Ever since 2010, he's been like persona non grata in France because he was part of like that little mutiny that happened with Domenech, right? And I was reading on Twitter, like people from France, they were saying because people don't like the person who criticized him, and he went so hard, he basically went 2-footed on this woman. This situation in some way is like reviving his reputation in France because he went so hard. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that like he would put that out publicly. But yeah, it goes to Carl's point. I guess he's having like some sort of midlife crisis, even though he's like 32, maybe.
No, I'd say late adolescence. I'd say
late adolescence.
Having is 19 to 20. Oh my god, I've discovered bands, and I don't want to say weed because obviously he's not smoking weed, but I've discovered freedom that I wouldn't normally have. So that's Germany. Also in England, obviously we had the massive Thursday, 3rd of January clash between Liverpool and Manchester City, which City won. So it's only 4 points between Man City and Liverpool at the top of the table. Of course, I'm skipping bits. Basically, City lost twice over the Christmas period, which was unprecedented and delightful. So yeah, we've got a proper title race. The bookies have Liverpool as the slight favourites. I was on a Totally Football podcast over Christmas, and I said City are going to win it because City have just more money, unfortunately, and a slightly deeper squad. Boys, we're going to do this throughout the show, but I want some 2019 predictions from you. Who's going to win the Premier League?
Ooh, I'm going to go with Manchester City because I feel like Liverpool haven't had a bad spell yet, and it's going to come. Like, it's inevitable. Like, they're going to drop 6 out of 9 points or 4 out of 12 or something like that. It's going to be. They're going to have a bad moment. City kind of already had theirs. Even though last season was like very special for Manchester City, and like they won however many games in a row, they had 100 points, etc., etc. Normally, when we think of Manchester City winning the Premier League, they come from behind. And I don't know, maybe the team's changed so much. Pep Guardiola's changed the ethos of the team, so maybe that's not relevant. But was it 2014 when Liverpool had that lead, and then they messed it up? They lost to Chelsea.
They literally slipped. Interesting thing about that season is no one really talks about how Chelsea let that slip.
Hey, easy.
Gerrard said this does not slip, and then literally slipped and cost Liverpool the title. But I don't think enough is quite made of how Mourinho's Chelsea finished 3rd that year. Before broadcasting, I said I don't want to talk too much about the Portuguese manager formerly known as Jose Mourinho, in case I go on a massive rant.
Hey, no. Pause. Time out.
His name is Uncle Mo. Respect him. And also Benfica. Don't you disrespect my boy by offering a managerial offer. Respect.
I'm not gonna talk about him too much. It's a brand new year. I don't know. You know, I'm leaving that man in 2018.
Show some respect.
I'm leaving that man in 2018, like all the other bad vibes and toxic personalities. So
show some respect.
So I don't want to talk about him too much. But so yeah, those are my two big things. We've got tight races again. It looks like also on the other end of the Premier League table at the very least, it looks like Huddersfield are gonna get relegated. Some really remarkable things going on in the transfer market as the window's just opened up. Christian Pulisic has signed for Chelsea. He's been loaned back to Dortmund, so he'll be in Chelsea colours in August. It looks like Callum Hudson-Odoi will be going to Bayern Munich, most likely for 40 million.
Actually, no. Sarri says that he wants him to stay.
I have according to my reports, Callum has told Chelsea that he intends to leave and go to Bayern. And now it's more or less, will Bayern reach the 40 million? Really interesting about Bayern Munich is obviously with Robben and Ribéry leaving, they are making some really interesting moves in the transfer market to basically get younger wingers and lower their age profile. So they're looking to get Callum Hudson-Odoi. Also, Alphonso Davies has just joined from Vancouver Whitecaps. The young Canadian player from the MLS has just come over and is getting. It's a really interesting immigration package that they've given him to basically help him acclimatize to German football. They've more or less said, we don't want Renato Sanchez part 2. They've all gone, how did Renato Sanchez happen? All right, he didn't understand German. Okay, he didn't really, even when he wasn't really playing for first. When he wasn't playing, he didn't spend much time talking to the first team. He hasn't really got a mentor. So they've basically gone with Alphonso Davies. How are we going to revert this? So Davies has his regular training session and he also has an academic training session. So he has 2 German lessons planned in per week to help him get up to speed with his German. Regardless of what happens on a home game, Davies is allowed in the first team changing room at full time and half time to talk to everyone. Frank Ribery's been basically told to escort that boy around the Bayern Munich megaplex, and they're all going, yeah, you're gonna be playing next season on the wing, so we need you to be up to speed and everything. And it looks as if they're making a similar package deal for Callum, which speaks to how the Bundesliga is becoming the new breeding ground for young talent, because they've, you know, in like a typical German style, they've gone, right, how do we make what are young people really afraid of when they move countries? Learning languages and being alone. How do we fix that? I don't want to say typical German efficiency in helping immigrants acclimatize, but it's near typical German efficiency. Daniel, what would you like to talk about?
No, I mean, you guys kind of stepped on it enough with the Hudson-Odoi thing. Just looking at it from like a Chelsea perspective, I thought that was really interesting about Bayern spending 40 million on a teenager from Chelsea's youth academy, and Chelsea can't figure out a way to get this guy minutes. I'm just looking at the situation. Like, if Bayern Munich, of all clubs, like traditionally the third best team in the world, are coming after your club's best youth academy product, and you can't figure out a way to get him in the team, I think there's a clear discrepancy in like what you should be doing and what's happening.
Danny, if you're Callum Hudson-Odoi, what would you do in this situation?
If it's as Carl says, and Bayern are basically laying out the red carpet, they have deals for me. They're going to try to make it easy, and they're promising me minutes. I think I'd be tempted to go to Bayern if I were him, especially seeing what's happening with Jadon Sancho. Those factors, and the fact that Chelsea, I think he came out today like sorry and was like, "What do you want me to do? You want me to bench Willian?" Like, I want you to bench Willian.
Do you know how sick that statement is?
He's basically like, what do you want me? I have Pedro and I have Willian. What do you want me to do? You want me to put him on the bench? I'm thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I want you to do. But like that mentality of Chelsea managers are so worried about the sack because it's Abramovich traditionally has that quick trigger that I'm not going to risk my tenure here at the football club with the 18-year-old. No matter how good people tell me he is, no matter how good I might see, I'm always going to go with the player that's 30 plus or 27 to 30 that is an international, is experienced. I can speak to him on a level that I might not be able to speak with the teenager. Like, they're always going to prefer that. So it would need like some radical person to come in and be like, Hudson-Odoi, you're my guy for the next 10 years or however long I'm going to be here. You know what I mean? And Sarri's not that guy. As much as he might want to be, he praises Hudson-Odoi, he praises Ampadu, he praises these players, but talk is cheap. Like, show me action. And in his actions, I think Hudson-Odoi has played 7 games, started maybe 3 or 4, and those are like Europa League games and League Cup games.
Wolves just scored. Is it Jimenez?
Raul Jimenez has scored. James Milner carelessly losing possession on an attempted cross turn.
Jimenez is on loan from Benfica, I believe, or some Portuguese club. And his buyout is like in the 30s, like 30 million euros or something like that. And I don't think Wolves are going to try to do that. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get Tammy Abraham from Chelsea, who's like the leading scorer in the championship at the moment. That's kind of interesting.
They're trying to get him off from loan at Aston Villa. And I think quite a few clubs in the Premier League are interested in getting him, hopefully to fire them out of a relegation battle. Yeah. I know, Huddersfield need a striker for one, as do Crystal Palace. So there's been a lot of back and forth with the FA as to whether or not Tammy Abraham can play for 3 clubs in the same football season, because he played for Chelsea in the Community Shield and he played in the under-23s. But according to FA ruling, they basically said the Community Shield is a friendly game. Well, they said words to the effect that the Community Shield was a friendly game and under-23s were the under-23s. So Tammy Abraham is available in this loan window. Quick 2019 prediction: where's Tammy Abraham going to be playing his football in February?
Aston Villa.
Oh my God, really?
You know what? Oh, is it in Chelsea's best interest to, like, especially as a club that wants to do all these loans, is it in your best interest to like renege on the loan and just like pull him from a place where you said he'll be here all season? Because what does that do next summer if you want to put a player in a particular club and they're like, if he does well here, by January, they'll just yank him and put him somewhere else?
If Tammy Abraham wants to leave right now, okay, fair enough. I think he'll most likely stay at Aston Villa come the end of the January transfer window, but I'd like to see him at Huddersfield or Crystal Palace. I'd like to see more English players at Crystal Palace right now, because Crystal Palace desperately need a striker. But there's plenty of personnel that should be moving in this January transfer window. There's no World Cup this year, so you don't have to, but just get some game time.
Do you go all out to get Coutinho this window if he's available?
No. If you're Ed Woodward or the higher ups at Manchester United, you should not authorize a £100 million deal for any player, regardless of if they're available or not. I don't want Manchester United to be in the transfer market right now unless Koulibaly's agent calls you up and says, "Hey, 75 million is yours," because nothing particularly matters for Manchester United for the rest of the season unless it's we're going to get a director of football and here's a new manager. That those are the Manchester United's priorities, not here is yet another shiny new toy who plays not quite as a number 10, but also on the wide areas. We've got enough players that can do that. I shouldn't say we. Manchester United have enough players that can do
that. Claim it, Carl. Claim it. No, okay. So, like, how do you feel so far about the Solskjaer project? Foreshadowing of the future, or is it just more you guys have played dead teams, so you're getting 3 points now?
I think 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Okay. Like the run of Cardiff, Huddersfield, Bournemouth, and Reading were definitely winnable games on the previous Football Manager. But I think the nature of which Manchester United did it, where they scored 17 goals, that would never been possible on the previous manager. There are, current bookies have Ole Gunnar as the second favourite to be the permanent Manchester United boss. You shouldn't. I think they should shake hands and say thank you very much, goodbye. As Chelsea showed us after their Goose Hiddink half season, this is what you do when you replace that man. You bring in an HR specialist, you fix the changing room, you improve morale, and then you get your next manager. Obviously, Chelsea went for a disciplinarian, Antonio Conte, who had a really good first season and not so good second season. But yeah, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing isn't revolutionary. What he's doing is basically he's encouraging his players. I think some of the comments from Luke Shaw, Paul Pogba, Lukaku, and Rashford have been really, really enlightening. Basically going, yeah, he talks to me. He talks to me one-on-one. He says what I can do. Lukaku says some interesting comments about how Ole wants me to face the goal. He doesn't want me to be the traditional target on my back to goal. He goes, I'm more dangerous when I'm facing the goal. He said, this is what Ole's been doing for me. A lot of the conversation about Lukaku's playing football like he's wearing jeans and his first touch is bad, or because he's playing with his back towards goal. It's quite hard to constantly have balls volleyed in at your chest and your shins and having to control that stop dead. I think only really the tier 1 / upper band of tier 2 strikers can do that, and Lukaku isn't in that band right now. You know, whether or not his technical quality or his confidence, but that's not what he's best at doing. So Ole's gone, how do I fix this? You know, other changes. Manchester United, the fullbacks are bombing forward. They're going past the halfway line, which means that, you know, there are options. There's the overlap ball for the wide men, which is really, really helpful. The two wide men normally are playing a little bit more centrally, and they've been tasked to occupy the other team's defensive midfielders, which means when Pogba gets the ball, he's got runners. He's got at least 4 options to pass to at all times, which is why you're seeing this improved bit from Paul Pogba. And he's got less defensive work to do because Matic now has a true, a slightly easier role to do, in that he's been tasked to just drop deeper. There are still the weaknesses from Manchester United on set pieces, but this is a Manchester United playing closer to the sum of their parts. And I think this should put to bed any argument that the previous manager is fit for purpose in the top 1% of world football. And I think it's nice to watch a Manchester United game knowing you're going to get somewhat good quality football, somewhat decent attacking display, and you're going to see Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford, when Alexis Sanchez returns, some of the more entertaining, exciting players in the Premier League play halfway decent football, which wasn't the case previously. But I don't want to call Ole the second coming or predict he's gonna Di Matteo it and get past PSG. I think he's doing a very nice job, and it's a free hit, and everyone, you know, it's Man United are fun to watch again. That's about it.
Cool. All right. So the genesis of that question was Coutinho, and I'll throw it back to Have Hope. I'm assuming you watch way more Barcelona than I do at this present moment. What's going on with Coutinho, and why does this rumor even exist?
First off, Coutinho is overrated. Sorry, Carl, I have to use that term. He never really was that good, and I think that Liverpool fans had a fantasy of what he really was, and Liverpool pulled off one of the greatest finesses in transfer history of getting 160 billion for Coutinho. Now, the issue is that Coutinho is an impact player. You know, he's a guy, I mean, he can be a number 10, he can do a through ball, but the greater part of his game is running with the ball, shooting, and really being really effective on the counter-attack. The incisiveness of the one-touch pass and move just does not fit in for Barcelona. That is why you have to give far more credit to Dembele than Coutinho, because Dembele, that isn't his game. But Dembele, he struggled, he readjusted, and now you're now seeing him now understand what this whole system is about. But for Coutinho, every time he comes in, he's not on the same footballing wavelength as Suarez, Messi, and Jordi Alba. I just think that for Coutinho, it's two things. It was a bad fit. His footballing characteristic doesn't fit in with Barcelona, and also he just was never that good. It's a myth that he's this great, amazing number 10 guy. No, he never was that good.
If they would have bought him for what he was actually worth, which was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 or 60 million euros.
No, he wasn't. No. Let's not do this revisionism right now. Right. Nitty gritty.
Are you telling me that Coutinho was worth 140 million euros?
No, but let's read.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No,
he was around 50 or 60 million euros.
Hang on, boys. Is Coutinho worth 140 million? It's very different from Coutinho was worth closer to 50 million.
I said 50 or 60.
No, those are two.
50, 60, yes. 60 max.
Boys. All right. I don't want to do this Twitter football revisionism right now. And you can look through the archive and listen to what we said about Coutinho before the deal was done. And I said before the deal was done that Barcelona probably shouldn't buy Coutinho and should be looking to buy Christian Eriksen for 100. And I said Coutinho is more closer to 100. But let's not call Coutinho not that dude. That guy was on fire for Liverpool in those last 12 months. That guy was every single statistical output. You look at that guy, eye test, statistical output, what he brings to a changing room. He was as close to, now, listen to the words I'm saying. This is why I'm pausing before one of you opens your mouth.
Just get on with it, bro.
He was as close to a viable blue chip player in world football as you can get. In the same way that you want to buy a player right now who's going to give you close to Messi, Ronaldo production. right? You want to talk about players you can buy? You can buy. You could do that. You were looking at Dembele, Hazard, Coutinho, Christian Eriksen, and then possibly Harry Kane. Although maybe it was like a little bit too early for Harry Kane before we realized, oh, this guy can do it whenever, wherever, and is made of adamantium, right? All of those players are worth 100 million plus. Like, I'm all in on Coutinho. I think that if Brazil stopped with their ridiculous Neymar sentiment and just gave Coutinho the left, I think Brazil would be better as an international football side.
No.
Come on,
the Dan.
I know.
He can't. No, sorry. No, you can't say that.
I know
Carl,
many Brazilians that agree with me right there.
Oh, God.
I know many Brazilians that agree with me, and I'm telling you, I know many Brazilians that agree with me. I had several Brazilians talk to me at length about why.
No. Is this how it started 2019?
I'm going to give you a fact. I'm going to tell you what Coutinho is, and I'm going to tell you what's wrong with him.
So be it. 2019.
You can't say that.
No, listen to me. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you what Coutinho is. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with him. This is what was going on. All right. This is what Brazilian football fans believe.
Okay.
When I tell you that Brazilian football fans don't like Neymar, a lot of them go, I prefer Coutinho to do it because Coutinho offers more defensive output of the team. Coutinho allows you to play Firmino up top rather than Gabo Jesus. Coutinho doesn't do this weird thing where he's constantly manufacturing loads of fouls for free kicks that don't go anywhere. A lot of Brazilian football fans would prefer Coutinho to be starting in those big games rather than Neymar and have Neymar as the impact man. That's what that is. Now, Coutinho's problems with Barcelona right now. Coutinho hasn't started a game for Barcelona since December 2nd. A lot of Barcelona fans are about this. A lot of Barcelona fans have very, very big problems with Valverde. They call him the accountant. They view him as a very deeply pragmatic man who is very often relying on Messi to bail him out. They think he doesn't get the most out of the side defensively. They think he's not doing the most out of their midfield. They think he's in this bizarre war of worlds with Dembele, and he's relying far too much on Suarez. You know, in terms of where is Coutinho playing, they're concerned. I know plenty of Barcelona fans who are concerned about Coutinho because they believe he is the real deal, and they are also quite scared that if Coutinho isn't managed properly, you could end up as the next Fabregas, who's there for 3 years, doesn't particularly do much, and then just fades out of play. So that's where the rumors are coming from. Coutinho is not overrated or a wash. Coutinho is just a very particular type of player who needs a better manager than Valverde. And I think all of us on this podcast can agree that Valverde is not the best type of manager for a talent like Coutinho
can I ask
or for a talent like Dembele.
Who is better, Coutinho or Ousmane Dembele?
They're two different players.
Oh, Lord. Okay, cool. Okay, now...
they're two different players. Football players that are doing two different things. Are you asking me who would I want if you gave me 150 million? I went go buy one right now for Manchester United.
Okay. I'm asking that. Who would you go for then?
I'll take Dembele because I want another inside forward to go along with Martial. I wouldn't want Coutinho because Coutinho is a very unorthodox player.
Okay, but you can't tell me who is the better player because they do different things.
Yeah, I think Coutinho has a magnificent talent that you should very much build a team around if you can get him. I also think that if you have a team that you're building around someone else right now, which Barcelona are doing because that team is run by Lionel Messi, then Coutinho, I agree with you in the fact that it was a bad fit. As I said on previous podcasts, I always believe Christian Eriksen to be a better purchase for Barcelona. But to say that he's not the guy, Coutinho's the guy. Trust me.
Okay, Messi, my assessment is because I have been watching Barcelona quite a bit this season. Coutinho has been given opportunities and he's been given chances. He's had starts, he's come off the bench and he's been given minutes. The fact of the matter is that he's not made a big enough impact. And that is because never has Coutinho had an amazing season. He's had like an amazing 10 to 12 games. He's never been a guy who said, oh no, this has been one of the best players in a season. He's never had an Eden Hazard season. He's never had a David Silva season. He's never had a Mahrez season. He's never had a season when he's been one of the best players in a league. And to say that, and any of those Brazilians who opened their mouth and said that they would rather have Coutinho in a team than Neymar are morons. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but you have to be either thick or moronic to say that Coutinho has a better chance of leading Brazil than Neymar. Say all you want about Neymar, about him falling over, everything like that. Neymar is a generational talent. He's a generational talent. Coutinho is not in the same stratosphere as Neymar. You cannot mention them in the same breath. So, and I think the thing with Coutinho is that he's a really good player. Of course, he's a really good player. He's just not that player. He's just not that dude. And any stats of goals, assists, meters run, eggs cooked and everything don't mean anything. Because at the end of the day, for Liverpool, he was just an appendage. He was never the star or the glue of Liverpool. He was just a really good addition to the team. And that's it.
He said eggs cooked. All right, okay. If I could split the baby before I was interrupted, okay. Or the problem I think people are having is if you do choose to pay 140 million for Coutinho, you might expect 140 million euros of production. So the perception of Coutinho might have been a little bit more than I think what the reality was. And then you add the expectation of 140 million euros. If he was purchased for a normal amount of money or a more reasonable amount, people would look at him in a different light. But because it was linked to the Neymar transfer and Liverpool knew that Barcelona had 220 million euros of PSG's money, they had to pay up. Same way Dortmund had to pay up for Dembele. Expectation is the root of all heartache. If you expect Coutinho to be a 140 million euro player, he's not going to be that because that's just an insane amount of money.
I already believe that Coutinho, Barcelona, is he really going to walk under the whole Messi thing? Now you put 140 million upon there, then the spotlight is far greater, the pressure is far greater. I was like, this spells a disaster. And
the expectation isn't even Coutinho's fault, but it's what the clubs had to pay for each other. Like Coutinho's Coutinho. Like you can have the argument whether he's that dude, whether he's not, whether he's better than Neymar, whether he's not. That's irrelevant as to why did they pay that much money for this particular player. And you have to realize the expectation that price tag is going to cost. He's the second most expensive player of all time?
Bro, I mean, really?
And that's because he came after the most expensive. That's all I wanted to say. Anyway, Carl, you had a topic. Our New Year's resolutions for 2019. I would hope it would be like not to yell at each other a little bit more. But I'll let you introduce this segment, and we can run from there.
Yeah, well, basically, I want to talk about how it's 2019, new year. Everyone's trying to be a new you and gonna be a better version of themselves. So I want to have a little segment here talking about what we're hoping from football in 2019 and hoping what that we want to bring to football punditry and commentary this year. So my resolution for talking tactics this year is I want to talk about women's football more. So this week I'm writing an article for The Athletic about Manchester United's women's team. So it's their first season after a 13-year absence from the women's game. And I've been looking at United's impact on the women's championship, what the new restructured women's leagues mean for women's football as a whole in England, and basically what we can expect ahead of the Women's World Cup this year in France. So that's my resolution.
Danny, you can go. You can
all
go.
All right. Something I want to stop in football. And I only just realized this today. Can we? You know what? 12 months ago, we were in the similar position with Antoine Griezmann. Can y'all stop putting black on y'all face? Is it this hard? Like, just stop putting black paint on your face. I'm assuming you guys have seen the Iniesta photo of like his Christmas celebration.
Feliz Navidad. Oh no, so Danny, no, you have to put that as the intro, man. What he just said. You could have put that as the intro.
There are no intros anymore, but
I do miss the intros. I miss the intros.
I know, because you stole the format for your YouTube videos. Don't think I didn't notice when you started putting those little intros in the beginning. I know you took it from us. It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, I don't know how many ways to say it other than that. Like, if you're a professional footballer or a football fan, don't put black on your face.
I think in Spain and in a lot of these European countries, and I don't think it's actually a racial thing. I just think it comes from a place of ignorance. You know, it's just a place of complete ignorance that you're not really aware of world things, race history, what these things mean, and because I wouldn't say homogenous, but because you've not really been very exposed to places beyond just continental Europe, you're like, oh, Negrito is a fine term to use. It's not racist. Oh, black faces, well, that's cool. It's not racist. So it's no, it is. You need to really be far more cultured.
Yeah, because I remember like Griezmann did it last year, and then Carl sent a photo in the group chat. Who was it? Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah. The whole Dutch
I
football.
never seen that picture before. I was like, what the hell is this, bro?
No, look, it's a mess, man.
Man, just chill out with the blackface in 2019, please. Thank you.
Okay, well, for me, I've had time to think. My resolution is to rely less on stats and more onto our footballing intuition to analyze the beautiful game. Because yes, I think we should use stats to a degree, but we shouldn't lean and rely too heavily on stats. I still want us to really trust in the eye test and what we see and the little nuances that aren't, obviously, the intangibles. I think we should do a lot more into the intangibles of football and the things that can't be written down on a spreadsheet.
How about like using less social media?
Oh my God. That's huge.
Like, obviously that's like a general, like, I'm not going to use Twitter or Facebook that much this year. And then by like February 1st, you're like posting 500 tweets a day or whatever it is. But like, you know how people just kind of go on Twitter to watch games and just kind of take opinions from people on Twitter? Like, think for yourself in that sense, you know?
I want to definitely use less social media this year because I just think that what people do is they look for clicks and retweets. So it's like, okay, what's the most shocking thing that I can tweet out just to get a reaction out of people? And people will, and even I've been a victim of this, people will bite to it. I'll be like, oh my gosh, how could you say that? How could you say blah, blah, blah? But it's like, oh my gosh, I just got finessed. Like, they did that to have engagement, to get retweets, to get talks so that they can then expand on whatever their platform is. And I think, because there's some really good stuff on Twitter, there's some hilarious stuff on Twitter, but I think that do not use social media too much. Read a book, go outside, talk to some people face to face, and don't be a slave to your phone and to Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff, and Facebook.
It's not necessarily about not reading or thinking for yourself, because I feel like if some people think for themselves, they can end up in like bad situations, i.e. Kanye West, etc. Like, being a free thinker isn't necessarily always the right way. It's like being more
read
judicious.
Books. How many times do I both have to tell you to read books? Kanye West said he doesn't read books. For the love of God, read some goddamn books.
Being more judicious with who you listen to, I think, is a better resolution than just not listening to
you just
anybody.
Got a pretty damn good goal, 1-1.
Reading books just isn't good enough if you're reading trash. Like, you have to pick the correct book. You have to read the right Twitter account. You have to like be smarter with where you get your information.
Books, newspapers. Read from a wide variety of sources. Read stuff you agree with. Read stuff you don't agree with. Read stuff you enjoyed before, and then analyze why you enjoyed it. Read stuff you disagree with and go, why do I disagree with this? Activate what's going on. However, this is less to do with football and more to do with life in general. Any
more resolutions you got other than women's football?
Just looking more into racism football. I think I need to, as we mentioned after the Sterling digest, we need to stop going something must be done and start looking into what we can do in terms of direct action, whether that's through organizations like Kick It Out or more grassroots organizations.
Yo, that was one story did that happen over the winter period about the Koulibaly thing?
Oh yeah.
Where can you go? You can't go to Spain. You can't go to Italy. You can't go to England. They'll call you black cunts. They'll just monkey chants at you. Like, what? Where do you go, dude? Does everyone just go back to Africa and start playing for, I don't know, Police FC in Kampala? Like, what are we meant to do?
Look, man, Europe, man, they have an issue, and this issue has been around for a long time.
Fans and listeners, please let us know what are your footballing resolutions for 2019. Are you going to be watching more French league, more Italian league? Are you going to be watching less Premier League? Are you going to be going to grass? Are you going to go to more football games this year? Or are you going to be going to less football games this year? I know of a gentleman who spent 1 year watching a game of football every single day. So basically looked at the international fixtures around the world and basically found the way to watch at least one game, at least half an hour of a game of football every single day. And what he learned about football that way, and how he learned about some thrilling matches in leagues in Asia. I know of a man called Harry Flowers who spent 1 year where he didn't watch or read or digest anything to do with football for a year. And basically his big takeaway from that was, you don't like football, you're just addicted to football. Football gives you a social option for you to do every single week, more or less. I know some people who've spent a year going, I'm not going to watch any Premier League because I think the game is flush with money. I know people who've gone, I'm going to spend this year just watching women's football, or spend all this year watching non-league football. So please let us know what you're going to be doing this year in terms of football. Recommend everyone at least make an effort to watch 4 games of women's football this year, which you can easily knock out with the Women's World Cup. It's going to be on free TV this summer. England are going to have a really good chance to win it this year as well. My friend Carrie Dunn maintains that the It's Coming Home movement started with the Women's World Cup in 2015 and England's efforts. Yeah, let us know. Leave us a comment. Send us a tweet.
Hashtag Talking Tactics. We'll find you.
What's your footballing resolution? What's your footballing resolution for 2019? You're going to be more into stacks, less into stacks? You're going to check out the art of goalkeeping, or you're going to check out the art of attacking football, or you're going to read more of Players Tribune? Please read more of Players Tribune. Or are you going to listen to more podcasts, less podcasts? Let us know. Now we can go into questions.
Wait. Actually, speaking on what Carl just said, so Danny, how much women's football did you watch in 2018? Or how much women's football do you watch in general?
I don't watch as much as I should, but with the World Cup, I'm sure we'll think of something to like cover it, especially like AFCON as well. Like I don't like AFCON in the summer, by the way, but we'll think of something for these tournaments. But yeah, I don't watch as much as I should.
But from the women's football that you've seen, do you think that it's something that you'd be watching at the same frequency as Premier League, Champions League, and so forth?
You see, like I think people get. We've had discussions about this in the past, but I think people get trapped into expecting women's football to look like men's football, and it's not. It's a different game, and if you come into it with the foresight that it's a different game, or at least it's the same rules, but it's played at a different pace with a different style, and you accept that reality, then I think you should be able to enjoy it. If you come into it expecting, there's going to be a woman that sprints like Gareth Bale, like that's just not going to happen. But you can enjoy a comparable experience, I suppose, if you come into it with the foresight that this isn't going to be men's football, it's women's football, and I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. It's the same way with the WNBA. I see people like, they don't dunk. The rim's 10 feet. Like there are limitations to what some people are able to do. I could still watch UConn play Notre Dame in women's college basketball and enjoy it and still be enwrapped and enthralled with the drama and the talent that they have on their level. It's not, it's not men. That's a stupid frame of reference to come to this with. And it's just a way to just, if it's not like what I'm used to, then it's trash.
Oh, no, I think this is true. And I think this is where, for me, I just think like definitely you should come in there with an expectancy of what you're going to get. But my thing is that if, let's say, for instance, like I don't watch Division 3 football, or I don't watch I don't really watch so much Division 2 or Division 1. If it's around, I may say and watch it. But the reason why we are glued and we can talk for hours on Bayern v Juventus, Real Madrid against like a Barcelona or so forth is because these people are playing the sport at the highest possible level. So while I do believe that women's football definitely needs a lot more exposure and there definitely needs more channels to be shown upon, you can't expect it to have the same exposure as what you see in the Champions League or the Premier League, because the Premier League, Champions League, World Cup is just the highest possible product. So even when I watch women's football, I'm like, it's interesting because it's a different game, but it's just not on the same quality and it will never be at the same high level as the best guys on the planet playing the sport.
As we have stated on this podcast before, and as Daniel's just stated, women's football is a different sport. So when you argue that it will not be of the same quality as the men's game, you once again are misinterpreting the fact that it's a different sport. You should not compare women's football to Division 3 to watching Division 3 as compared to watching Bayern Munich versus Juventus. What you should be doing is comparing women's football to men's football as more akin to watching the Premier League as compared to watching the French League. So if you watch Ligue 1 now, outside of PSG on the top 4, the French League right now looks a lot like 90s Premier League. A lot of teams play 4-4-2. There's a lot of orthodox frontmen. They're just really having a renaissance now with overlapping fullbacks, and what that does and opens up the game for you. Hope, a man who talks how much he likes the 90s, how much he likes straight partnerships. Ligue 1 is a very interesting prospect. Women's football is going through a similar tactical output right now. So a lot of teams are playing 4-4-2. You have quite a few orthodox frontmen. There's quite a few midfield partnerships. Fullbacks are we're really getting into a nice state of fullbacks overlapping. When you say the quality is different because it's a different sport. As I talked before on this podcast, injury profiles are completely different in women's games because women's bodies are built differently from men's bodies. Women are a lot more susceptible to tearing their ACLs because of the way women's hips are different to men's hips and how that puts unique stresses on the knees. As Daniel said, don't go into women's football expecting it to be like men's football. Go into it expecting it's going to be a completely different sport. It's going to have different midfield conundrums. It's going to have different types of strikers. Something that's really interesting right now in women's football is you have far more orthodox number 9s in the same way you used to have Raul or Van Nistelrooy or Del Piero to an extent. You have a lot more orthodox goal poachers because you have a lot more of an orthodox crossing game. If you miss that sort of play from early 2000s football, late 90s and early 2000s football, I recommend you watch a game of women's football. And like I said before, I'm not asking you to discuss women's football in the same way that we would spend a week previewing every single Champions League tie. All we're asking you quite nicely to do is to watch 4 games of women's football in 2019. And I'm sure you can do that when the Women's World Cup is around. There's plenty of sport to go around. It does not have to be a case of watching men's football or women's football. Just, next time someone goes, oh, Frank Kirby did this, just go, oh, who's Frank Kirby? And look at some things. Look into how the problems women footballers have right now in getting boots.
All I'm saying is that you just said that it's a different sport. The sport that I love is a sport that we talk about on this podcast, and it's what I talk about on the Football Hut and so forth. And because Nigeria were playing, I watched the Women's World Cup, and I've watched previous other games with women and everything. And for me, I appreciate that it is different, but it's just a sport that I can't get into. I've watched women's football extensively, trust me, because I tried to get into it. And I was like, you know what? This is just different. And this just isn't what I can't analyze this in the same kind of detail and the same kind of passion that I can for men's football. And if people want to take it away of like, oh man, you're being sexist or you're not appreciating it, no, I'm sorry, because it's just not on the same quality and level. And as you said, it's a different sport. And if it's a different sport, well, that's why I don't watch rugby that much. I don't watch NFL that much, but I watch football of what I know. So
that's key. That last thing that you said, of what I know, like that's the key. It's almost like you've watched so much men's football that when you see 2 nets, a ball, they can't use their hands, and it's 22 women on the pitch, you're like, okay, I'm waiting for somebody to do something like a coach. I'm waiting for and not that doesn't happen, but like on a more physical level. That's why I brought up Gareth Bale. Like, you're not going to get a sprinter like that. But if you're waiting for that, that's not going to happen. But because you're used to that happening, then you can't enjoy it on the same level. I just think we're brainwashed in a way. Maybe not even brainwashed is the right word, but we're just tailored to liking a particular way of seeing 2 nets, grass, a ball. You can't use your hands, but it can be done in another way. But if you're used to it happening one way, then it kind of bleeds into your perception again. And I feel like your perspective it's needed in a way, because you have to have someone who's willing to say what I think a lot of people are thinking. But I do think it needs to be exposed for something that's not good. Like that you can't enjoy women's football seems like a bad thing for someone who enjoys having, like, you can't use your hands, the ball needs to go into a goal, one person on each team can. Like, the basic rules of football is something that you enjoy. But the fact that you can't enjoy it seems like something that you should explore maybe a little bit deeper. Maybe not you, but like people who think like that. Like, why can't I enjoy it? And if it's for reasons that are rooted, I don't want to say in sexism, but just bias, you can maybe change that bias if you expose yourself enough to it.
You can't force yourself to like something you don't like. That's, for me, it's completely wrong.
That's what I'm saying, though. But like, you like football. It's not like, hey, watch snooker or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to anybody that likes that, but you like football. You like people not being able to use their hands and kicking a ball around the pitch and trying to put it in a goal. Like, you like that sport. So what is it about women that just makes it a little bit in people's minds? And I don't have an answer to that question. For me, as I said, I don't watch it as much as I should. And I'm not getting at you because I'm kind of preaching to the choir. I'm talking to myself in the same way, in the same sentence. Yeah, I do think I need to do some investigation on what is it about women's football that just maybe doesn't interest me as much as men. And I think it's just conditioning. And I think you can reverse the conditioning if you're open to it.
Basically, just to end it, because again, we're just going into is that I just believe that the crux of my argument is that I want to see the best possible product because that is just what I enjoy. I want to see the best films. I want to see the best boxers. Again, I can readjust and say, okay, I'm seeing the Midwest, but if it's carte blanche, what do you want to see? Have anything you want? Yeah, I want to see the best of the best. So I want to see the best games. So if it's a choice
then why wouldn't you watch the Women's World Cup? So that's the best of the women's game. So your argument that you want to see the best films, well, one, best is subjective, and two, like you say you want to watch the best films. My argument here is I'm saying, hey, would you mind watching this film with subtitles on? Yes, you are watching some of the best football there is in the world right now. You're watching Neymar, you're watching Lionel Messi, you are watching Virgil van Dijk, you're watching Koulibaly. Yes, there's some of the best footballers in the world. I'm also going, hey, there's also another world over there full of incredibly talented football players doing stuff. Would you mind watching 4 games in the next 365 days?
I think the conversation is interesting just in terms of how people are conditioned and their perception of like men and women in that way. But anyway, I don't want to get stuck here, as Hope said. So we're going to pick a couple questions because I don't want to disregard your guys' questions totally. So we'll do these over the next 5 minutes, hopefully. What makes a player world class? That chemical X that separates Eden Hazard from Stuart Downing and Danny Drinkwater from Kevin De Bruyne from Black Emoji. What makes a player world class?
Best, you have to be best, one of the top 3, top 4 in your given position over a long period of time.
I feel as if we did this massive conversation. If you go through the archive, we had a conversation when it looked as if Harry Kane was tied with. When it looked at Harry Kane and Romelu Lukaku were going to tie for the Golden Boot. This was Lukaku's last season at Everton, and we discussed whether or not either of those players were world class. And then we went into what world class meant. By the end of that conversation, we got to what Hope has just said. We want you to be top 3, top 5 in your position for a length of approximately 3 seasons. Wrestler Bret Hart said to be a great wrestler, you'd have to be fantastic in the ring, on the mic, and you'd have to also score highly in the intangibles, which made me chuckle when Hope used the term intangibles because that's definitely a term he's picked up from me. I want...
actually, it was from Skip Bayless, actually.
Well, Skip Bayless stole it from me.
Carlos Skip Bayless say this. All right, I want to get to these questions.
Yeah, like intangibles. I think Mbappe has not had 3 fantastic seasons, but I think we're all in agreement that Mbappe is world class because Mbappe has buckets of intangibles.
Okay, MF Bain, talk about Brexit's potential effect on the Premier League. For example, a lower limit of foreign players and players from lower leagues like Mahrez and Conte possibly not getting a chance due to stricter transfer rules.
The best analysis of what Brexit could do on football was given by Football Manager, so much to the point that copies of Football Manager have been given to Parliament.
What?
And gone, this is what could happen to the Premier League if these 3 versions of Brexit go ahead.
And basically, does the league turn to like Burnley times 20?
Not so much. Well, for anyone who's played Football Manager and has tried to sign a South American football player to the Premier League and has said this deal has been delayed due to a work permit, that is most likely what will happen to European signings, to players from EU nations as they come to the Premier League. So basically, it becomes as difficult to sign
Ronaldo
Italian
as it is Messi or something like that.
Yes. So that's one option. That's the most succinct way I can put it. The ramifications upon that could be 4- or 5-fold. So when European players become hard to sign, that could either tank their prices. They could become so much cheaper because it's less easy to get them. It could bring that purchase rate lower down to South American levels, or it could cause them to spike because you have to factor in how much longer it takes them to extricate them from their teams previously. The knock-on effects of what that could do to British players. I'm very specific when I say British there. So British players are already quite expensive, which is one reason why Burnley is struggling. I think the sale of Dominic Solanke from Liverpool to Bournemouth for 19 million has shown the premium price you can pay if you want to buy English. I'd imagine that would only increase. But in summary, we don't know. We don't know because I don't know what type of Brexit is going to happen. I believe we are most likely to get a no-deal Brexit. It just seems inevitable now because the powers that be seem incapable of doing anything. And if we get no-deal Brexit, then I have no idea because if we're no-deal Brexit, no one has any idea what happens next.
All right. Is Son the best winger in the Premier League?
No, because he's not a winger. He's inside forward.
Godin and Robin on a free transfer to Inter.
Ryan Fraser is.
Ryan Fraser is the best winger.
Ryan Fraser has the best assists. For 2018, Ryan Fraser was top 5 for assists and got 4 assists in the top 5 leagues, I believe. Basically, Ryan Fraser had a fantastic 2018, and he's the closest to an orthodox winger the Premier League has. So in terms of getting up and down and whipping in crosses, he's up there. And he'd pull that funny face when he was next to Troy Deeney in the 3-3. So yeah, Ryan Fraser is probably one of the better out and out wingers the Premier League has right now.
Godin and Robin on a free transfer to Inter. Fire emoji
Not going to happen.
Or poop emoji?
Not going to happen, and it's also very silly. Like Inter Milan has just got themselves into Champions League places and Champions League money. The worst thing they could do right now is spend a lot of money on contracts for aging players.
Why are modern football fans so obsessed with buying and selling seemingly more than the actual football on the pitch?
Already responded to that one. Please read.
It's not a modern phenomenon, and that's about hope. This is the player that will take your club to be where you want them to be. Transfer rumors is the business of selling hope. I agree. How good can the trio of Messi, Suarez, and Dembele be if they get clicking? Really good.
Very good.
Jay Nicholas, 1991. They can be very good. They can win a Champions League. How about that? If they get clicking. Last question from Air Run 20. Are any of you buying ignorance as a reason for yet another football wearing blackface Iniesta? I could buy ignorance as a reason.
I can go with it. I mean, it could be racism, but I would tend towards ignorance.
It's cultural ignorance is what I would put it down to. But that's why one of my resolutions is telling people, hey, chill out.
If he's ignorant, then now what? Like quick roll call of the black footballers Iniesta shared a changing room with.
A lot.
Yeah.
Enough, but are they on the level to where they're going to tell someone to wear blackface? Probably not. Samuel Eto'o probably just wouldn't talk to you. You think he's going to try to teach you anything? No, I wouldn't. So all right. So that has been the return of Talking Tactics to 2019. I'm happy to be back. Some good moments, tense moments. You can follow us on Twitter at Talking Tactics, Facebook Talking Tactics 352, Instagram Talking Tactics, SoundCloud Talking Tactics as well. If you're listening on Spotify, follow us there. And last but not least, if you're listening on an Apple device, leave us a 5-star review. We'll read it on the show. Easiest way to do that is in the description. You can follow us in the description. I'm at Daniel to look. Have Hope is at
Half Hope Hot.
Carl Anka is where?
Anchorman616.
Yeah. Talking Tactics podcast. Sometimes funny.
Sometimes serious.
Always footballer.
Indeed. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.